Okay, people, we are getting started. Hello, everyone. My name is Alex Martinez, and welcome to Martinez Academy. I don't know if I'm going to call it that. I think it sounds pretty cool. So, what we're going to be doing today is an intro to exponents, and I'm going to give you a few examples. So, I wrote down a few definitions here, but I want you to ignore those two definitions and just look at this one example that I'm about to write down. It is 2 times 3. Well, 2 times 3, you should all know that. 2 times 3 is 6, and you might be like, "Yeah, duh, it's 6, Mr. Martinez. Yeah, right." But here's why I'm doing this example. I want you to think about this problem as not as 2 times 3, but as 2 plus 2 plus 2. You can rewrite 2 times 3 as 2 plus 2 plus 2, right? Which is just 6. It's the same thing as 2 times 3. Now, why did I do that? You'll see that in a second when we talk about our first example, which our first example is going to be 2 to the third power. And you might see this and think, oh, 2 to the third, well, that's just going to be 6, right? Because I see a 2, I see a 3, multiply it, it's 6. No, that's a no-no. Here's what you have. You have two things going on here. You have this 2, which represents a base, and you have this 3, which represents an exponent. What is a base and what's an exponent? Well, I wrote the definitions up here for you. A base just represents factors that are being multiplied together by itself. And how many times we multiply those factors by themselves? Well, that's told by the exponent. The exponent tells us how many times the base is being multiplied. So in this case, we have a base of 2, exponent is 3. So we have 2 times 2 times 2. We're multiplying the base 2 3 times. Notice we're multiplying it 3 times. So what's 2 times 2 times 2? Well, that is going to be 8. It's going to give us 8. Now let's look at another very similar example. Now in this example, we're going to be doing 2 to the fourth power. Now 2 to the fourth power, let's first off label some stuff. Let's label this first number here, the big number. You can always think of the big number being the base, and the small number on top is the exponent. Now we have a base of 2, exponent's 4, so this tells us that we need to multiply 2 by itself 4 times. We're going to have 4 2's. Now what does that end up being? Well, 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16. So we're going to get 16. 2 to the fourth is 16. So let's kick it up a notch just because I love fractions. So let's do one with fractions. Let's do, I don't know, 1/4 to the second power, right? Okay, let's not freak out though. Let's not freak out. This isn't a virus outbreak. It's just fractions with exponents. We can handle this. I'm going to write this down one more time. Again, this number inside the parentheses is the base, 1/4. And the number outside right here is the exponent. So this tells us that we're going to take 1/4 and we're going to multiply it by itself how many times? 2 times. And when you are multiplying fractions, here's what you got to remember. Multiplying fractions, we just multiply straight across. So 1 times 1 is what? 1. 4 times 4 is going to be 16. So we got 1 over 16. That's it for that one. All right, people. Next and final example is example number 4. I'm going to kick it up one more little notch. Don't freak out. Don't freak out on me here. But I'm going to take negative 1/4, negative 1/2, sorry, negative 1/2, and put it to the fourth power. So what we have here, and I'm not going to write this down again, but what we have here is a base of negative 1/2 and an exponent of 4. So what this is going to look like, we can write this like this. We have the base being multiplied by itself 4 times. So it's going to look like this. And before I kind of tell you, before we kind of go through this, let's do a little quick recap. And I wrote this down already, a little review of what happens when we multiply negatives together. So this very first one, what happens when you multiply 2 negatives together? Well, you get a positive, right? Most of you should understand that or know that. Now the second one is, what happens when you multiply 3 negatives together? Well, let's first off multiply the first 2 negatives together. We get a positive, and then multiply it by one more negative here. Oops. Multiply it by one more negative. So a positive multiplied by a negative is going to be a negative. And then finally, I did a third one, which is multiplying 4 negatives together. What happens when you multiply 4 negatives together? Well, negative times a negative is a positive, and a negative times a negative is a positive. Multiply 2 positives together, you still get a positive. I did it all the way to four negatives here because our example number 4 has 4 negatives in it. So what do we know our answer is going to be? Our answer is going to be positive in the end. And I'll just write a little positive here to show that it's going to be positive no matter what. Now, all you need to do to multiply these fractions is multiply straight across. So multiply 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, that's going to be 1. And multiply 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, well, that is going to be 16. So we have positive 1 over 16. And that's going to be it. So if you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section below. Please remember to subscribe if you liked it, and like the video if you enjoyed what you saw and you learned something. If you didn't, like the video anyways. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.